Let me get to square one. Now, there's a company in Virginia, in Ivy, Virginia. Lovely little hamlet, just a stone's throw west of Charlottesville, Virginia. I don't know how many people know about this company, but it's called Square One. And they sell organic spirits and mixers. It's really cool. You should check it out.
Okay, it's interesting.
I just found out about it because this is a long way to go for the joke.
Okay.
Okay? It's a very long way to go for the joke.
Aaron Rodgers is not involved in this joke,
No, he's not.
Okay.
No, it's not a hallucinogenics. It's just spirits, right?
Okay.
Like if you bought a mixer, you want to make a margarita.
Right.
Although I'm not sure they have any of those. Anyway, this would be a great sponsor for the United States men's national soccer team. Square One. Because that's where they're headed.
Yikes.
So, yeah, it was. But I couldn't find a company named Drawing Board.
Oh, really?
There was no company that I could find.
I'm surprised there isn't Drawing Board.
Named Drawing Board. Yeah.
Drawing Board.
And I thought I kept thinking about Chutes and Ladders last night.
Yeah.
All right. USA 0-0. Uruguay 1 last night. And for the first time in U.S. soccer history, at a major competition that they hosted, a major cup competition that they hosted, they crashed out in the group stage. Yeah. And it wasn't like they were in a group that should have posed a problem to get out of unless they screwed it up. No offense to Panama, who plucky little Panama got through. Bolivia, the worst team in the entire tournament. Of the 16 teams in Copa America, Bolivia was the lowest ranked.
It's not good.
Yeah. They beat Bolivia. Just 2-0, but they beat Bolivia. But of course, they lost to Panama in the second game in the group. They were down to 10 men 18 minutes in, and they lost 2-1. Goal coming within, 5.5 minutes of the full-time whistle, before extra time, added time, rather. So because of that, they went into last night's match needing a win. They had to have a win going in. All right, now what we're hearing is Gregg Berhalter has to be fired. We have to fire Gregg Berhalter. This is what everybody believes should happen, will happen. I don't know if it's going to happen. We talked about it yesterday with Jamie Watson. It's not that I think Gregg Berhalter has done a good job. There are two parts of this conversation. It's that I don't believe the person they just hired, even though it was a rehired, I don't believe they are going to sack him 2 years before the World Cup is coming. I really don't. I would support it because he is no longer the right man for this job. I think that is painfully obvious. It's not like the U.S. has played a murderer's row of opponents during the friendly season, but they are now, 3 wins, 1 draw, and 4 losses in this calendar year? They were better under the interim in terms of their performance than they are under Berhalter. So I think it's fair that people think a change is necessary. And it's not just because you didn't like him to begin with, but just judging them on their merits now. It's fair to say, hey, this golden age of U.S. soccer, without really the accomplishments, this golden age just has not performed well. So, but I'm just going to bring up one thing that happened yesterday. We'll talk more about it later with Ryan O'Hanlon. And again, I don't know who, I'm not even going to suggest somebody to come in and manage this group that's going to be better than Berhalter, because it's silly to even do that. But everything you know about Berhalter I think could be summed up in one camera shot last night. 66th minute. Right, about 25 minutes before the end of before we blow the full-time whistle, roughly, because they weren't really adding much time onto games at the end of halves, even though it was clear that there was more time lost to injury or other decisions. They were just not adding a lot of time back on at all. 66 minute, it's still USA 0, Uruguay 0. There you go. Freudian.
It applies too.
Freudian. Remember, if U.S. and Uruguay drew, they're out unless Panama couldn't beat Bolivia. And Bolivia, who was down 1-0, equalized. All of a sudden, it's 1-1 in the 69th minute. Nice. So the U.S. right there, if you could freeze the time, the U.S. is through on goal difference. They were +1. I think Panama was -1. So if the U.S. could work out a 0-0 draw and Bolivia could keep that 1-1, hallelujah, you're through. You're into the knockout stage. And Berhalter could be seen shouting to his team, it's 1-1. Dude, you're playing. Your team is playing. Why are you paying attention to the other score? And why are you telling your team, hey, man, it's okay to not win. We don't have to win because they're not winning, so we don't have to. And right there is the fireable offense if I am U.S. Soccer, giving your team license to not win.
That's the opposite.
Yes!
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Nobody has refuted it yet. I almost find it hard to believe that a coach in that situation would tell his team that they don't have to win.
Right.
I find it incomprehensible.
That's the whole point.
But nobody has refuted it. So, and don't talk to me about being pragmatic. If you thought that Panama wasn't going to get another goal in the last, let's just say, 25 minutes, because there were probably going to be about 4 minutes added on at the end. If you didn't think Panama was going to get a goal against the worst team in the field with 25 minutes left to play, you're an idiot. The U.S. was always going to have to win that match. And by the way, 5 seconds after he signaled to his team that it was 1-1, Uruguay scored off a free kick. Boom! Right there in the face, Greg. That was an embarrassment. That moment was the embarrassment that U.S. Soccer needed. Do I think they're going to fire him? I don't. Because they're too dug in. Anyway, there's my rant on square one.